Good morning, dear colleagues. We start our working day at Ukraine Crisis Media Center. The topic of the first press briefing is Ukrainian Jewish Encounter announces its program to commemorate the 75th anniversary of Babyn Yar. Our guests are Adrian Karatnycky, board member, Ukrainian Jewish Encounter, Peter Zalmayev, board member, American Jewish Committee, New York, and Natalia Feduschak, director on communication, Ukrainian Jewish Encounter. Dear guests, welcome on stage. Good afternoon. I would like to thank everyone who comes today. I'm Natalia Feduschak, Director of Communications, Ukrainian Jewish Encounter. Our organization was started in 2008 in order to strengthen the dialogue between Ukrainians and Jews. These are two people who lived on this land, and this is a very important historic moment for Ukraine, and our cooperation is important for both countries and both people. Our organization for several years supported conferences connected with history, festivals, and also literature festivals. We were recently in Arsenal. We had two panel discussions, and in September, Ukraine will commemorate and mark 75th anniversary of the Babyn Yar, and we went from Israel and we encountered with journalists and politicians, and they had great interest in this date that is so important for both people. And I will give the word to my colleague, and he is going to tell us about the programs that we will have in Kiev, and we will be ready to answer your questions. Good morning. I'm glad to see you all, and I would like to say that firstly, I will report on the events of our organizations and the events that will be held on the 29th, that will be the date commemorated that when the tragedy started that day, and there will be some commemoration events. And you know that last year the president restored the committee, organization committee, that deals with the concept of state events. And parallel to this, there are some public initiatives, and the representatives of World Jewish Congress and other international organizations will take part in these events and the sessions of this committee. But I would like to tell you about the public events. We understand that there will be some leaders of the key European states and from the State of Israel, and we send these invitations to the minister and to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they will be ready for the events. But there will be a number of additional events, and I guess the whole Kiev and whole Ukraine will discuss the issues of Holocaust. That will be the opportunity to broaden the discussion of these tragic events of the past, and to elevate the level of this discussion, and to discuss the occupation of Kiev and of Ukraine. And also, this event is very important, really important. That was real tragedy of mass murder. and 34,000 Jews were killed during these several days in September 1941, and this should be the commemoration of this tragedy, and also there will Mr. Fuchs will also organize the concert for Jewish community on the 29th of September, and Pinchuk also organized some events in his gallery, art gallery. That will be the exhibition of modern arts that will display the images of some events that were there. And also there will be some forums and conferences held, and we contribute to these events, and we invited Professor Neumark from Stanford University. He is an expert in genocide issues, and Timothy Snyder and Karl Berkhoff also will come here. And parallel, we organize a number of events, and for the week there will be the conference for young people, for youth, for Ukrainian and Jewish activists, leaders, intellectuals, scientists, and that will be young people, and Mr. Shupak from Dnipropetrovsk will help to organize. He is the member of Center Tkuma, Center of Jewish Heritage, and also we organize big event and competition that will be devoted to the landscape design of the complex and the dialogue between World Congress and the Ukrainian government. There is a number of proposals how to design this territory, and our competition is advisory, and there is an international jury of the representatives of different architect organizations from Israel, Europe, and experts from Ukraine, from Great Britain, Germany, Sweden, France, Ukraine, and from America. These are leading experts that can create this design, and there will be a competition held, and 3 best designs will be presented at Ukrainian House, and then these designs will be submitted to the government in order to make this territory more dignified as a place of like a historic preservation site, sacred place of memory, an necropolis. There were some different, and the idea of this competition is the overall approach, comprehensive approach to the landscape design of this territory. These designs will be discussed and submitted to the government, and then we will hold a symposium and with the Ukrainian and international experts, and there will be book created in English, and the editor will be Paul Robert Magati, head of chair of Ukrainian Studies in Toronto University, and Vladislav Grinevich, Ukrainian historian of the world of the war period. And also our main event at the day of commemoration, that will be the great concert in the Opera Theater. Hamburg Symphonic Orchestra will be there, and some Ukrainian performers will join. Dumka choir also will perform. And they will take part also. And this is under the leadership of Ukrainian singer from diaspora, from England, Pavel Gunka, and also Oksana Linev is the conductor. She was born in Brode, and now she's deputy conductor of Bavarian opera. Ms. Linev and Kirill Petrenko also will be the main conductor at Berlin Philharmonic. And I guess we created quality group of performers and artists. The program will consist of 3 elements: Jewish Kol Nidre prayer, Requiem, Stankiewicz Requiem, that was ready for the 50th anniversary. And also there will be, we will have Brown's Requiem. The President of Ukraine will be a patron of this project, and this event will be held under his supervision. So this is general layout of these events, and we hope that the representatives of international community will come, and Ukrainian diaspora and leading intellectuals and writers. We want to draw the attention of the world press, and we closely cooperate. We are not a government initiative, but we closely cooperate with the presidential administration and with government, and we hope that we will succeed in holding these events, and that it will be a good intellectual approach towards discussion and commemoration of this event. So starting from 23rd of September till 29th of September, these will be, this time will be dedicated to commemoration events, and all the citizens will discuss this tragic issue. And Babyn Yar is a tragedy, and at the same, Auschwitz is the symbol of industrialization of Holocaust, mass murders, the mechanisms of mass murders. And Babyn Yar is the bright example of Holocaust by bullets, and 1.5 million Jews were tortured and in this terrible way. And this form of Holocaust was predominant in Ukraine at that time. And I give the floor to Peter Zalmayev, that is going to tell us information about this. He's from Donetsk, and he went to the USA, and he is the board member of American Jewish Committee in New York, and they cooperate with us closely in the preparation of the world community to these events and to participate in our events. Thank you, Adrian. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Peter Zalmayev. I'm board member, American Jewish Committee, New York State. And also I am a coordinator of Ukrainian Jewish Encounter organizations, and we now deal with the project that is connected with Babyn Yar, and our committee is the biggest diaspora organizations outside Israel, the oldest, started at the beginning of 20th century, and offices of this organization are in every state of the United States, and representatives of also in Europe, in several countries, and also in Israel. In this context, my task is to form a delegation of American Jewish Committee in order to attend the meetings and events of Ukrainian Jewish Encounter. And we hope that American Jewish Committee will be headed by its president and also other representatives of organizations from different states. The main aim is to educate people, to tell about the fact that Babyn Yar is the symbol of Holocaust, the Holocaust that was made by bullets, not by gas cameras, and this was the first most tragic events during the Second World War. This was crime against the Jewish people, and we hope that American Jewish Committee will be represented at the highest level. And we work with the representatives of the committee in order to form a group of young people, young activists from the United States, from Western Europe, and from Israel that will come and will take part in a special conference for youth. And that will be the conference. It will be held for several days, and it will include several symposium, as Adrian told you. And there will be leading scientists that study Holocaust. Also, we work with the World Jewish Committee that form groups of 20 representatives, and that will the brightest young leaders from the whole world that will take part in this event, in the symposium, in conference, and also they will take part in the events of the 29th of September. Also, this World Organization will compose a group of 200 schools from different school children of different schools of Ukraine that will be taken to Kiev to take part in some commemorative events. So so now the questions, and please introduce yourself first. Natalia Pavlenka, CMC. First question. Do you have some confirmation that our president and prime minister are ready to participate? Not only like patrons, but also will they be present there? And also you were speaking about conference for young people. What is the role of young people, and what do you expect from this young generation? As to the first question, I want to say that 4 or 5 months ago, we had a meeting with the president and also with the former prime minister. We meet Mr. Pavlenka, and we take part in all the events, and we have confirmation directly from the president that he will take part in our events, and we harmonize our events and those events that the Jewish community organize here together with the state in order to have it smoothly, and we have such a confirmation. As to other events, they are not at that high level in order that there should be a place for these high figures like president. And maybe there will be some deputies or members of government, but we did not agree on that. So these will be mainly intellectual scientists, experts that will discuss moral issues connected with these events. The only thing I want to say is that we have strategic partnership with World Jewish Congress, and we understand that the head, Mr. Ronald Rounder, the head of this organization. They support Jews in Eastern Europe, and he will be one of the main participants of the world community and participation in these events. And as to the youth conference, we were in Israel with Peter, and we met Ms. Plasko, and she is head of Department of Friendship between Ukraine and Israel. The issue of young people is very important in Israel, and these formal and non-formal meetings between young people, they have opportunity not only to speak about the past of our nations, and young people, of course, should know about the past, but young people can establish dialogue and can cooperate among themselves, and we can see the development of this cooperation and to contribute to the future of the development of our nations. Yeah. And this conference for youth will have a component. There will be major events and major speakers, but also we will have some town hall meetings. There will be some small groups where people will discuss the issues among themselves, and this dialogue, it will continue after commemoration. We hope that it will continue, this dialogue will continue into the future. The only thing I want to add is that we want, and we believe that Ukraine is actively commemorating some events, but we understand that some state and public resources, they are limited. That's why we want to contribute, and also World Jewish Congress wants to contribute and to make these events international. And also, you remember about the commemoration of Auschwitz, 17th anniversary of freeing people from Auschwitz, and that was the big event. And we met with the president, and he said that that is the level of commemoration that should be held in Ukraine. It should be a great international event with broad representation of world scientific and intellectual and public community and representatives of heads of states. And also we want to complete these introduce these goals into reality. Information agency. I have a question to Adrian Karatnycky. When you said that some experts and architects will come and that there will be a competition, so it is on the way, as I understood. Can you tell us about this contest? And you said that there should be united design. So I want to pay your attention, to draw your attention. There is a website that is called concourse.kby.kiev.ua. I will provide you with such materials, and you can find information on our site, Ukrainian Jewish Encounter.org. You can also see these contest materials, and it is done under the auspices of International Union of Architects, and the jury, the members of the jury, these are leading specialists. James Youngert, he is the leading expert in architectural commemoration, and he's the professor of University of Massachusetts and leading architects of Ukraine and international representatives. They will take part in this jury, and this will add to the discussion, and we try to build connections and to make this contest international and to establish a dialogue on a broader basis in order to reach these goals. So we are speaking about the territory. This territory had some historic stages that it went through. History of Ukraine is rather chaotic, and there are some different narrative, and the idea is to make a design of this territory, and there is a project provided by the state, LA of victims, of LA of those who do right. So there are some funds allocated for these projects, and these projects will continue, but the idea is to transform this park. This should be the park for having. Our goal is to create incentive that people should rest in this park, but there should be some. There shouldn't be a place for some loud events. We understand that more than 100,000 victims are there in that territory, in that land, and people should respect them. But we understand that people who live nearby, they shouldn't lose the access to this park. So this should be harmonization between the interests of people and the aim of the contest. We have different narratives, different ideas, but we believe that we will create we will provide some answers and to find some right solutions. But we understand that commemoration projects, these are the matters for architects, for experts, and of course political realia should be included. And I'm from New York, and there were some interesting projects to commemorate 9/11 tragedy. But in the course of discussion with the public and politicians, they transformed to less aesthetic. But we understand that this is normal, that in discussion there is dialogue, and this dialogue requires some compromise, and we give incentives to create a proper dialogue, a proper approach to discuss these issues. UCMC questions are the first one as to chronology. So the biggest number of events will be in autumn, and what will be held, for example, in spring and summer, and do you have confirmation of participation of relatives in the events that will be in autumn? About relatives or witnesses, we expect that people will be present, but this is in process. The only thing I can add, I cannot tell on behalf of administration and government, but as I understand, they understand that there should be relatives present during these commemoration events. Maybe someone from this group will have a speech and will represent this group of people. And these questions should be asked, and these are questions for the government and head of administration, and at the level of ministries. These are ministries of culture and Mr. Pavlenka. So this is they will work in this direction. And at youth conference, we expect the participation of Revlich, Mr. Revlich, who survived Holocaust in Berzhany, and he created a film about his way back to Berzhany, and this film will be shown. And Mr. Aaron Weiss, he also survived Holocaust, and in both cases they were saved by Ukrainians. And they are elderly people, but they do a lot for young people. And as to your second question, we plan that on the 9th of June, we will know what are the finalists, first 9 places as to the competition, as to the contest. And in a week, for example, on the 20th of June, we will have a briefing and we will discuss this memorial space. So this is the end of our press briefing. If you have questions, put them off record. Thank you very much. Until the next time, goodbye.